Hey, Happy New Year guys. It's been a while since I uploaded a video, and as you can see there are some changes to my room. Right now the room is not treated, so you'll probably hear a bit of echo in the room. Yeah, it's a project that I'm working on right now and part of the reason why I've been away for a while. So today's video is going to be a room tour. It's going to be a bit more than that. I just want to discuss quickly what I think high-end audio is. Given the fact also the system does not belong to me, once again, I'm going to ask all of you to be polite in your comment. I mean, if it's my system, criticize it as much as you want. But this is not my system. But I really like to share. All right. Okay, hey YouTube, it's Thomas here. So today I'm at the friend of the quad and the DIY speaker. So this is their gang. They have their own audio club here. And we are going to look at a very impressive system. We're looking at the Sonus Faber Elipsa, yeah, SE, and yeah, it's a high-end system. And once again, the room is fully treated, very nice. The place is super clean. It's very big. I'll show you what I see behind me. It's impressive, the place. So the first thing I noticed when I walked in the room is that it is beautiful. It's very nice. You have this nice pool table at the back. You have a gym on the left. I didn't film the gym. And then you have a dedicated listening space. He doesn't have a dedicated room. I mean, the place is just too big. But he has a dedicated listening space. And the second thing I noticed is that it's exactly like my other two friends, the one who owns the DIY speaker and the Quad 989. The way they treat the room is very similar. So if you look at the ceiling, once again, it's the same principle. You have this cloth that allows sound to pass through. And then you have a little bit of space, and then you have rock wall on top. So yeah, the principle is the same, but really nicely done, and they did it themselves. Next, you have these diffusion panel on the wall. I actually bought the same thing. It's in the box somewhere over there. They're from Europe, and for this friend here, it's very important that everything has to look beautiful. So he didn't build these diffusion panels like my other friends. He actually bought them, and yeah, they look great around the TV. Next, you have these absorption panel on the walls, on the left and the right, and everything is placed according to what the data they get from the computer. So they have to look at the response graph and see what's happening, and it's not just random placement. These absorption panel, very specific. Eventually they'll do the same thing for my room too. They'll have to bring in a computer and then start measuring the sound and tell me exactly where to put the absorption panel. I'll make a video on it. And finally, you have the carpet on the floor. Very nice carpet. The only thing I noticed is that the bass trap on the side are a little bit small, but it's normal. The point is to control the bass. It's not really to absorb all the bass. And also the fact that you have such a big room, there is absolutely no boominess at all. Not the same problem I have in my room when I have these really big speakers. Bass was definitely not a problem in this room. And overall, it is actually, I think the room that finally inspired me to go like, all right, Thomas, I got to do something about my own room. So I did spend a few hours listening there, and definitely it was an experience. For this friend, it is very important that the room is aesthetically pleasing. And in this case, he doesn't want any clutter. If you look at the system itself, it's very simple, and there's a reason for it. First of all, the computer is in a different room. He uses an Apple TV to stream music down here and connected to a Naim Dac. Now that's the same DAC as the friend who owns the 989 system. He also owns the same DAC. Now I guess that's one thing about friends. When one of my friends discovers something very nice, sometimes I end up buying the same thing because we're like, yeah, this is so good that you should buy them. For example, when I bought my Focal 1028, my other friend ended up buying it too, and that's the good part about it, is because we get to bring it home, test it out, and say, yeah, this is great. So in this case, he has the Naim Dac, like my other friend there, and then it's connected to a Pathos TT. Now, if you notice, the whole point is to have least equipment as possible. So not like my place, I have I have a lot of gear. and I need more shelves to put them. In this case, it's very clean and simple. So you have the Pathos TT integrated amp. For those who don't know what an integrated amp is, it's the combination of a preamp and an amp, and sometimes even a DAC all in one to just one system. So you just need one piece as opposed to 1, 2, 3 pieces. Well, yeah. So this is Pathos TT is Class A, 35 watts, I think. 30 watts, 35 watts, I don't remember. It has a tube front end and then a solid state back end. A bit like actually just like my Pathos logos. But in this case, this is pure Class A. And there's something very nice about Class A. I own actually only one amp that was Class A, and I had a chance to borrow another Class A amp, and I lived with it for a little while. Class A has its own charm, it has its own warmth and smoothness, but the downside is that you need a speaker that's a bit efficient to drive it. So in this case, actually, you know what, I'm not going to put the price of anything here. Just look in the description box. This integrated amp is high-end, even probably double the price of my Pathos logos. It sounded very, very nice. I find myself being drawn into the music when I was listening to it. I'll get back to that. And next you have the speaker, actually. That's it. Integrated amp, DAC, and speaker. The Sonus Faber Elipsa. Now, I had this Sonus Faber toy before, and I have an idea of its sound signature. You see, it's like, if I bring home a KEF LS50 and then I bring home a KEF R700, you have a certain expectation that's very similar sounding. Same company, same type of sound, and it's very true in the case of KEF. In the case of the Sonus Faber toy, it is the same kind of sound, of course, but this is many levels up. I like the look of it, actually. It's really wide. And I like the fact they don't use grill. I think I noticed that also in the higher end speakers. It's like these few strings going from top to bottom, and yeah, that's it. If you touch it, it has a very nice finishing. So overall, I had certain expectation of this system because I had the Sonus Faber toy before, and I have to say it sounded what I was expecting. And before I get into that, I just want to talk about this subwoofer. Now, this is the same subwoofer as my friend who owns the Quad 989. In this location, this subwoofer gets a chance to really shine because you have a big space here. Now, this has, I think it's a 13-inch front firing, active, and then you have this same 13-inch down firing, but in passive mode. So it's not a cheap subwoofer. It's a DIY subwoofer. It's built by the other friend who builds speakers. And I have to say, damn, the subwoofer really is amazing. So overall, as you can see, it is a very nice setup, a very clean setup, and aesthetically pleasing setup. But the big question mark is, how does it sound? So for those of you who have been following me, I categorize speakers. I don't like to compare speakers to speakers. For me, there are analytical speakers such as the KEF, the Focus, the monitor audios. I put them into one group, you know, metal-based dome tweeters, hard dome tweeters, whatnot, one group. And then, because if you like that kind of sound, you might not like the sound from these kind of speakers. These are what I call very musical speakers. They're a bit rolled off. It's like, imagine turning the treble down a little bit on your system. But it's more than that. It's not just turning down the treble, right? Because all the details is still there. It's just that it's not as fatiguing. Well, fatiguing, I guess, is a hard word. But it's not as sharp and bright as the analytical speakers. Somewhere in the middle, you have the dying audios, you have the Bukhara S300s, the Wafadel D225 speakers that has soft dome tweeters that are in between, right? So this speaker is a bit extreme to the musical side. And usually I'm not a big fan of musical speakers, but this is a case where I have to say I am super impressed by it. And I don't know, is it the room or what, or the fact that we can push the volume a little bit high, but I don't feel I'm missing anything when I'm listening to this speaker. It's just a bit like the Quad 99 or the DIY speaker. I feel that I'm not lacking any upper range detail there. At my place, you know, with my Kefs and my Cantons and so forth, I mean, it relies on that metal-based dome tweeter to give me that ultra super bright detail. But in this case, it's different. It's a different take on it. And I noticed that while listening to this system, at one point, I actually forgot that my friends were in the room. You know, I was so absorbed into the music. I also had him play without the subwoofer so that I can listen to how good the bass is on these speakers alone. And they're adequate. Yeah, they're okay. Even with a big room like this, like that, it was good enough. But once you put in the sub, once you turn on the sub, I mean, it adds a bit, no, actually it adds a lot more to it. There's more depth in it, there's power in it. And as my friend was pointing out, the reason why I really like the sub is that I cannot hear it, but I can feel the power of it. And we start listening to all kind of music that I'm not usually, music I don't usually listen to, just to showcase the strength of a subwoofer. And I have to tell you, it was a great experience. And the fact that, because the room is treated, I guess one of the advantages is that you can push the volume. And listening at high volume without ear fatigue, without hurting your ears, is an experience in itself. And my place with like my Kefs and so forth, I can't push the volume too hard before my ears hurt. But over there, yeah, I mean, on top of that, it's a very musical speaker. So even if the room is not treated, you can push the volume on that thing. And the thing with musical speakers, in this case, is that they have a quick roll-off, a quick decay. As I mentioned in the video, you know, what speaker to buy, metal-based dome tweeter has this thing about the roll-off being a bit longer, that decay, right? When you go ding, it goes ding, and these kind of musical speaker drops off a little bit faster. Ding, doop, drop. So it's like me and you chatting, as opposed to hello, how are you, right? Hello, how are you, right? Shorter, quicker transient. So what it does is that it gives me the illusion that the person is actually really there. I mean, all speakers, high-end speakers will give me that illusion. It's just that it's done differently. So you can imagine having a friend there singing in front of you. It's more cozy, it's closer to me, and that's the kind of feeling I get with musical speakers. So one thing that caught my attention was the soundstage these speakers produce. It's comparable to the Quad 989, and it's ginormous. And that got me asking, is it because the room is so big that it allows, you know, sound to propagate left and right properly, so therefore it gives that big sound stage? Or it's just the way these speakers are built that, you know, it generates that big sound stage? I don't know, but I have to say, I mean, it has one of the bigger sound stage that I've listened to out of all the speakers that I have listened to. And so it's no surprise that after visiting this place, I went home and really thought to myself that, yeah, I should really do something about my room. Because because musical enjoyment is not just listening to music, it's really also, you know, visually it is important that the place looks pleasing too. And also because of the fact that the room is treated. And that's one thing I notice about high-end audio system that I listen to, is that the room, when it's treated, it's quiet. It's not like, okay, everybody stop talking, that kind of quiet, but rather the noise floor is really lower than usual. So that really got me thinking, you know, at this point, it really makes no sense for me to keep buying speakers. I need to work on the room. And that's why I lost interest in speakers, actually. When I see them online, some very nice speaker, I'm like, doesn't matter what I bring home. I reached the plateau. I mean, the top of what my room can do. And hopefully with room treatment, it's going to elevate it to the next level. So overall, I'm really glad that I got a chance to listen to this system today. It really got me thinking a lot of stuff. And also, it was a great experience. So I want to take this opportunity to talk about high-end audio because, like all my videos, I just don't want to talk about speakers, systems. I want to talk about ideas. And as I was sitting there were times, as I mentioned, that I get lost in the music, meaning that I forget my friends are there. And it's just me and the system. And then, you don't even hear the system. They disappear. And in my heart, I keep going, wow, this is amazing. This is amazing. And I only get that kind of feeling when I listen to very high-end audio. As you know, for those who follow me, I mean, I get a chance to listen to very good gear at my place. But it's not the same with high-end audio. Like, for example, what I have here today, I have the Dying Audio Special 40. Very, very good speakers. I mean, so the point is that I do get a chance to listen to a lot of great system at my place, but it's just not the same with ultra high-end audio. And I asked myself that question, what is high-end audio? And given the fact that I have a chance to listen to many high-end audio, this is my conclusion. Once again, it's just my opinion. And it was correctly pointed out by one of my viewers. A lot of time people get a chance to listen to music, but very few people get a chance to experience music. So I asked this question to my friends too, right? What is high-end audio? What is this? What is it that these systems give that the other system don't give, like the entry level or even these Dying Audios? This is a $4,000 speaker, and even then, it's not the same level as high-end audio. Okay, ultra high-end audio. And they said, it's the feeling. I disagree with that because for me, the other day I was listening to this Prima Luna with my Omega speaker. These are very entry-level system, and yet I can feel the singer. It moves me. I can hear a lot of emotions. My friend who owns $500, $700 system can hear the emotions of the singer too. So it's not that. The ability to hear the emotion of a singer and so forth can be done at any level. Doesn't have to be high-end audio. But to experience music has to be done at high-end audio. Now, let me explain what I mean by experience music, okay? So the other day I was listening to this CD, Double Bass, at my friend's place. And if you think about it, double bass is an instrument that has a lot of power. It goes very low, a lot of presence, right? You cannot do it with a speaker like that. It's just physically impossible. And yet, as I sat there in that room listening to that system, I can feel the illusion that there is somebody playing a double bass in the room because there's power to that system. I can feel the vibration, I can feel the little details and so forth. Because you can say I can use a 24-inch subwoofer and I still get the rumbling bass, but you lack definition, you lack precision and so forth. And only high-end audio can do that. None of my speakers can do it. The Kevs, the Elacs, the Canton. The Canton probably can do it, but I don't have the room to do it. So that's why, for me, it was an experience. It felt like it was just that one person playing the double bass for me. And I noticed that when I listen to high-end audio, I like to listen to instruments. I like to listen to things that I usually don't listen to. People playing piano, for example. I don't usually listen to piano, but when I listen to high-end audio, as I mentioned, I like listening to piano. And think about it, how many systems can really create that illusion that a grand piano is in your room? You need a certain requirement to do that. And no, a $5,000 speaker will not be able to do that. Tell me one $5,000 speaker that can create the illusion of a grand piano. When you close your eyes, there is a grand piano in the room. And I guess that's what really hit me so hard that every time when I go listen to a system, when I test it with a grand piano because I want to hear, can I hear that grand piano in the room? And if you can, then it's an experience because you're experiencing the fact that there is a grand piano in your room. So speakers like these, all the speakers I have, they're very good at creating that I mean, they sound pleasing to my ears, right? Like these Dying Audios, they sound great. If I play a grand piano, I'll hear the piano, it'll sound great, but I will not feel the piano. And I guess that's my definition of it, and that's my experience. What separates high-end audio versus regular system, a regular system. And even then, my system most of the time is not regular, right? And yet, in the face of ultra high-end audio, there's still a gap, and the gap is, as Paul McGowan said, is as big as the Grand Canyon. I mean, that's why it's an experience. Think about it. You can watch a movie on a 50-inch. I mean, the movie will, by watching the movie, you get the emotions, you experience the story and so forth. But you're not going to get the same experience when you go into IMAX cinema, right? With all the multi-channels, the big wide screen, that becomes an experience. And that's why I said, music, you can listen to it, just like watching a movie, you can see, the story of a movie, but to experience it is a different thing. And that's why high-end audio, I've noticed, is that they get all three things really well. Fantastic mids, fantastic highs, and very good low end. And if you want to go into like more detail, if you think about it, high-end audio, what it does better is just refinement. The details are better because every single speaker can produce a soundstage. But there's a difference between, let's say, my ELAC debut 6.2 that produced a very reasonable good soundstage, and then compared to a high-end system where it produced a ginormous soundstage. If you're playing classical music, orchestra, I mean, there's only so much an ELAC debut 6.2 can do. And granted that it is pretty amazing, but once you go into high-end audio, you create a stadium. And that's where the gap is. Yeah, I guess the reason why I want to touch on it is because, I do get asked that question, so what is so good about, high-end audio? Like, it's all snake oil, people charging like an insane amount of money for speakers and systems. And I get the part about charging insane amount. At the same time, because I used to own businesses, I know the costs of running a business. But putting money aside, from my experience, listening to many high-end systems, I do have to say there is a gap, and that gap is the ability to create that realism, to be able to feel like you're there. And as I said, most of my speakers can do it. It's just not at the same level. I guess that's my take on it. I mean, of course, high-end audio is very, the finishing is really beautiful. It's very pleasing to my eyes. Yes, they're fantastic in terms of resolving detail, mid-range, all those, things that you expect, right? But I want to focus on just that key word, right? It is an experience, because you can experience the actual instrument in the room. The other day I brought my nephew. My nephew dropped by. See, my nephew doesn't listen to music. I mean, he listens to video game music. He's that kind of person, headphone. But he's a very smart kid in university, so he's very good at explaining things. So when he dropped by my place, he was listening to these JBL bookshelf entry speakers. Well, he was not listening. He was just sitting next to me reading his manga. And then he said, "Oh, Thomas, these speakers don't sound as detailed as your other speakers." And then he keep reading his manga. I didn't tell him the price of that JBL speaker. It's about $400. So even for somebody like him who don't listen to music, he'll pick it up like that. After a while, he said, "Hey, I noticed that the instruments are all matched up together. I can't pinpoint them like your other speakers." And then he started reading his manga, and that was it. That was the 2 sentences he said. That's how much he cares about speakers. So when I brought him to listen to high-end audio the other day, I mean, once again, he was reading his manga at the back seat. Me and my friends in the front were seriously listening to the system. And then in the car, he was telling me, "You know what? If I had to describe what I just heard compared to the speakers that you have, is that if I were to explain it in color, the high-end system I just heard would be if I take a paintbrush and I color black, white, blue, green, all separately. Because all the instruments are all separate. I can hear them very clear. At your place, even with your the Dying Audio Contour 5.2, I would say that they're like rainbow, a big rainbow. You can see all the colors, but it's a bit blurry in between. And for those of you who who has owned like the KEF R700, 900s, Contour 5.4, you know that the separation is pretty decent on them. But yet in the face of ultra high-end audio, there is a gap. And I think that, for example, in this case, because the separations are so good, when I listen to music, I can hear 5 distinct instruments in the room. And that becomes an experience. It's no longer just listening to music, you're experiencing the fact that there are 5 different instruments clearly in the room. And so that's why I'm always chasing after high-end audio, because of that experience I have. People tell me, why don't you just listen to music? It's because I've experienced music. So that's why I'm having a hard time just listening to music. All right, I guess this is a very long video. I haven't made a video in a long time. So yeah, it'll be a while before I make my next video, I think. As you know, I'm working on the room. The next video will be the Bukhara S400. I have to make this video first because I actually brought the Bukhara S400 to this room, and I wanted to also, because the Bukhara S400, I brought it everywhere, man. I really wanted to test it completely, and I like to share my findings in my next video. All right, guys, so till next time. It's good to see you guys.